Do you touch it?
Yes, I've touched
Because it will be sad if it's 30 minutes. Yeah.
Hi guys, hope you're doing well. My name is Nkem, and if you're new here, in fact we are all new in this journey because I've been away and we're trying to get back together little by little. And in this video I'm here with
Dami.
so I met Dami here in Canada and she has been so sweet and loving, and she has a YouTube channel. I'll put the link on my description box. And she came into the country as a student, and after a year she got her permanent residency. And I know a lot of people, even me sometimes, I do advise people, if you're coming, come and do a 2-year course. But she actually took that risk, came in and did a 1-year course. And today she's going to share a bit of her journey with us and just share a few tips that can help you as well. So if you have any questions, I think after this video you can drop it. I'll answer some questions. But for today, I have 15 questions. And I hope we answer everything in this video. Are you ready?
Yeah. So
please introduce yourself. Just give us like a little summary about yourself, how you came into the country, when you came in, how was the journey for you, just a summary.
okay, so hi guys, my name is Dami, and if you're new to Nkem's channel, welcome to Nkem's channel. I'm also a YouTuber. I'm based in London, Ontario, Canada, and I came to Canada in 2020, just during COVID, and I started my program, which was 1-year program, like Nkem said. And I don't want to give too much away because I know she has a lot of questions she would ask.
Yeah.
But I've just been here for about 4 years now, and I became a permanent resident last year. So yeah.
Okay, so are you so sure about the program of choice, like when you were coming? Or you just wanted to, because a lot of people, they just come, I beg anything, let me just study. But were you like very sure, very certain about what you wanted to come and study?
Honestly, it was in 2020 or I would say in 2019 was when I started my whole Canada journey. I really wanted to come to Canada. My goal was to come to Canada even before anything, before studying in Canada. I knew that I wanted to live here. I knew I wanted to be in this country. So I started with trying to come as a permanent resident from Nigeria. Yeah, so that was where I started my journey from, and that was sometime in the beginning of 2019. Okay. I started researching about what it means to come to Canada as a permanent resident and all those kind of stuff. So I realized that my points were not enough. I only had a bachelor's degree, and at that point I had about 2 years of work experience. So when I calculated my points, it wasn't quite enough. So I knew that I needed to like ace my IELTS, like my English proficiency exam, or do a second program in Nigeria, maybe a master's degree or like a postgraduate diploma or something like that. So but I still tried. I took my first IELTS exam, which was the general language exam, and I didn't quite pass. People say you can't fail IELTS. It just depends on what score you're looking for. So I needed.
Sometimes I'm like, it's English. You can't.
Yeah,
fail.
right. I needed to make sure that I had a very good point because my scores were low. So I just tried, but it didn't quite work out. So I started researching how to come to Canada as a student. So I went on to write my second language proficiency exam, which at this point I didn't write the general language anymore. I wrote the academic because I knew that I wanted to now try coming in as a student. So the goal honestly was not that I knew what I was doing. My goal was that I wanted to come to Canada. So I studied international business management, IBM. Is that what you're studying?
No.
Okay. Someone told me recently that that's what they're studying anyway. Okay. International business management, and I didn't really have any background in business. I didn't really have any background in that line. At that point, I was working in the administrative human resource field, and my undergraduate program was in international relations. So it wasn't
ISD.
Yeah, so it wasn't related.
There was no relationship.
Right, but yeah, I reached out to an agency because I wasn't very sure of how the process was. Actually, that's not what happened. Let me rephrase. So when I knew that I wanted to come as a student, the first step was obviously to write my English exam, and after that,
so was it compulsory for you to write that English exam? Because generally in Canada you don't need IELTS.
Yes, and that's where lack of information comes in, which I'm sure we'll still talk about eventually. Lack of information was one of the things that made me write my English, the academic English test, because you honestly do not need that. I just knew that people were writing IELTS exam for academic IELTS exam, and I just also went to write my academic IELTS exam. I did my credential evaluation. I started doing those things just because I was watching YouTube videos. I was on Nairaland. Everybody that used Nairaland know Nairaland. The OGs. If you know, you know.
If you don't know Nairaland, then you are not an OG.
So I was getting a lot of information from those platforms. And you know, when there's too much information, sometimes you don't have the information.
I feel like what we have right now is we have so many information.
Yeah.
Like, there's just information flying, so we don't even know where do I fall in. I feel like that's why personalized consultations are very, very important. And by the way, if you want to book a consultation with me, just send me a DM on Instagram.
She's your guy.
I'm your plug. But I think there are a lot of information right now. It's crazy because everybody's sharing their own experience. Even with myself, I'm sharing my own. She's sharing her own. Everybody's sharing their own. So which one now relates to you? I feel like you should book consultations with professionals.
Yeah, people that know what they are doing.
Exactly, so that you cannot make mistakes. For instance, you don't actually need to write IELTS to come and study. However, you need IELTS for PR. So there are two different exams she wrote. Two different kinds of IELTS she wrote. She wrote IELTS for like general IELTS and then the academic IELTS. So I wanted to ask, so you wrote your IELTS from Nigeria, so you need to write a third one again
when I moved to Canada.
Yes.
So I did when I was transitioning from because the first general I wrote had expired. And even at that one I wasn't going to use it because the point was not what I wanted. So I still wrote another one when I came to Canada.
So how was, like, when you were a student, how was it like generally? How was life like generally for that 1 year period? Did you come alone? Did you have family members here? How were you able to navigate your way, all those things?
So when I came, like I said, I came in 2020, which everybody knows was like one of the worst years ever. One of the worst times to move to a new country. So I came in 2020. When I landed, fortunately for me, I had family, but I came from Nigeria by myself as a single young lady. But I knew a family that I stayed with in my first few months in Canada. So that helped. I would say that helped me a lot with settling, with understanding the system and all those stuff. But I still needed to figure a lot of things out by myself. So I would say transitioning in from the Nigerian system to a Canadian system, the educational background that I had, everybody knows that studying in Nigeria is quite, maybe not everybody, but if you've studied in the Western countries, you will know it's quite different from that. And I came in COVID, I had no friends. Luckily for me, I had family that I could stay with, but I still had to quarantine, but that's a story for another day. I had to quarantine and I stayed with the family that I had at the point, but I still needed friends. My program was fully remote. I couldn't meet anyone. I couldn't socialize. I couldn't do anything. So I would say it impacted me a lot with my transitioning process from Nigeria to Canada.
Because you had to be doing remote learning.
Remote learning. I've never done remote learning in my life, except all those little courses you do on like Coursera and all those stuff. But I'd never done a full degree online before. It was a lot. It was a lot.
I can imagine actually, because Canada itself, now there's no COVID, there's no lockdown. Canada itself is actually lonely.
Yeah.
Then imagine loneliness in
Lonely,
loneliness.
lonely at the top.
It's well, sha.
Yeah.
So, the PR itself. So when you finished, is it when you finished you started say, okay, now let us go back to where we're coming from, or how did you now restart the process? Was it on hold, or were you trying to do it side by side?
Yeah.
What were you doing?
Okay, like I said, I have a YouTube channel, and I soaked so many informations when I was coming to Canada. I started counting my points. Like I knew that if I finish a 1-year program in Canada, I'm going to get my PR fast. But unfortunately, COVID happened, lockdown happened. There was slow down with immigration process. At some point, they were not even giving people PR. They were not doing draws.
Yeah, they were not doing draws
at some point. So it changed the game for me. I had to re-strategize, and keep in mind I did a 1-year program, which meant I was only going to get 1-year postgraduate degree. So
this is why we actually advise people to come and do 2 years.
Yeah.
But some people, if you can take the risk like she did, can go for it. We'll come to that later.
Yeah. Yeah, so for transitioning from study to PR, I already knew that if I'm proactive, I should be able to get it in 1 year. But unfortunately, they stopped doing draws. So my time started counting from the day I finished school. But the things that I did to prepare myself for PR was that, if you remember, I said I already had experience with writing IELTS, and I know that it is not just English. When people think of English tests, they say, oh, it's just English. Nobody can fail English, right? Especially knowing that you've spoken English since you were born, right? So I knew that it was not like that. So I already prepared myself, and at that point I had already done my credential evaluation from Nigeria. So I evaluated my previous credentials, and those things were already in place for me, so I didn't need to do all those ones again, because your credential evaluation, I think, is valid for 5 years.
Oh, that's West.
Yeah, I did ICES or ICAS, I can't remember.
Okay.
I didn't do West. There was another one that I did that I used.
Okay.
So I think it's called either ICAS or ICES. I can't really remember.
Okay. How long did that take?
So I did it from Nigeria, and when I did it then, it took about 3 months.
Okay.
From about 2 months, I would say, from when I reached out to my university. Luckily for me, I went to a private university, so it was very fast. It's from the time I reached out to my school to the point when they sent it to ICES or ICAS. It took them maybe 1 week.
Oh, okay.
But if you went to a public school or government school, and sometimes
Univen is not that bad actually.
Okay.
Univen is not that bad. Like within 2 weeks, you find someone.
But there are some schools, and they know themselves. Some schools like Unilag,
names with health.
it will probably take you a month from when you request.
Some even years. There was a woman. She was like, she can't. She just knew there's a no-go area.
Yeah.
She had to start bachelor's again.
Yeah, so you have to make sure that you are like on top of your game once you're reaching out to your school.
In fact, if you are watching this and you are in final year, as you graduate, they release your results.
Apply for it. Especially if you're in a school that you've heard that they delay, just apply immediately, because some schools just take your time unnecessarily. So back to the gist, I did that already, and I already got that out of the way. So coming to Canada, while I was still in school, I started preparing for at this point it would be my 3rd IELTS. So I wasn't sure. I knew that I knew the points I wanted to have in my head. I already knew that if I have a certain point, I would get a certain point in my accumulated CRS calculation or CRS points. So I was already planning to get that. I was preparing to get that, right? Okay. So in my preparation, I took at this point it would be my 3rd IELTS. So I took it, and the results came out, and I had 6.5 in my writing. So that affected me, because you don't want to have a low point. You don't want 6.5 is nothing. Don't aim for a 7. the minimum you should aim for is like a 7.5. Only if you're coming with a different pathway that doesn't require IELTS score.
Yeah.
So I got 6.5 in my writing, and I was probably maybe 2 months to the end of my program at this point. So I started preparing again for a fourth IELTS exam at this point. So, but the second one in Canada, and IELTS is expensive in Canada. So I had to make sure that at this point I was preparing well to pass. So I read and I passed. I passed very well.
Why didn't you do self-pay?
I don't know. I didn't because I already had experience with IELTS. I didn't want to give chance to something that I
because
didn't know.
A lot of people say self-pay is
people actually say self-pay is easier, but because of experience with IELTS, I'm like, the devil you know is better than the angel that you don't know. So I just prepared for it. I learned some techniques and it helped me. I passed it really, really well. Like I had a band 9.
Wow.
So that's made my points like skyrocket. But unfortunately again, they weren't doing draws. So, and when they started draws, the points were very high. So imagine points before they stopped doing draws, the last draw they did was about 470 something.
I feel like people, we call them sets on Twitter.
Okay.
2019 sets.
2019 sets. They were the lucky ones.
They were so lucky because the scores were very low.
Yeah.
They needed people. A lot of people had PR in that period though.
Yes.
I feel like that's what even made the whole PR segment popular.
For sure.
A lot of people really hate that thing actually. Wow, that's really nice. So let's come to jobs now, because when you finish a 1 year program, you have 1 year postgraduate work permit. Now you are thinking of looking for a job, you're thinking of applying for PR, a lot of things on your mind. In fact, from the moment you even step in Canada, you already know that you have 2 years.
Actually.
You get, in fact, your visa might even be 1 year, then you have to do postgraduate, they will not extend the visa. So in your head, it's like, oh, I have 2 years. And trust me, 2 years is not long ago. Before you blink your eyes and open it, 2 years is gone.
Yes.
So how did you navigate job search? Were you working when you were schooling? Or like, how did you navigate job search generally since you came to Canada?
Okay. So when I came, it took me about 3 months to get my first job. And my first job was nothing in line with what my degree or anything. I was working as a personal support worker. We call it PSW. So it's like caregiver. And I was working in a retirement home. I have several videos about this on my YouTube channel. So feel free to check. So I was working as a caregiver, and it was the job in demand. Like I said, COVID times. So they needed a lot of people. I didn't even have a degree. I didn't even have a certificate at the time. So because the retirement home I was working with, they employed me saying that they were going to train me. So that was because they needed people desperately. So that was my first job, and I did that job for like 7-8 months, and that was the job I did till I finished school. So even after school, I was still doing it, and I already started applying. I started applying for jobs like some months before I even finished school. Like I needed a job, but interviews were not even coming. The interviews were coming like maybe sprinkled interview here and there, like one interview in 3 weeks, one interview in 1 month.
Job search can be crazy
for a full-time job.
So I think someone advised that just create a separate email for job application, so that when you receive, unfortunately, you know whether you want to open the email or not. Because the job search can be crazy. Actually,
it was very crazy. I then, because there was now they don't use NOC anymore. They use tier whatever. So then you have to get, for you to get a job that qualifies for permanent residency, you have to get a job in either NOC A, B, NOC A or B, NOC O, A or B. Yes, so I was looking for a job at least NOC B, because I didn't want a job in NOC C. If you get a job in NOC C, it doesn't qualify you. It doesn't count towards the points. So I needed to get a NOC B job, and I started applying for anything, admin assistant, any kind of job that fell under the NOC B. So because I knew I didn't have money to do a second program, some people that finished school around the same time with me took a second program, but I didn't have the money. to do a second program. So I just had to get on top of it. Then I got another job, which was I actually worked in the store. I worked in Dollarama, which is a dollar store here in Canada. I worked there for like a month and a half, but those jobs are very stressful. So I quit. I quit that one quickly. Then I got a customer care job, which was the job I did till the point where I got my first official corporate job.
So finally, like the struggle is real.
The struggle is
actually,
real.
It gets better with time.
It does. It does.
So for the PR, did you now later do PNP or to now general express entry, or how did you now scale through?
Yeah. So when they started draws again, the points were 5 something. I think it was like 530 something, which was ridiculous.
601.
Yeah, it was very very ridiculous. And my points then was 489. So 489, I felt like they will probably never get there. So I needed to make sure that I get my 1 year work experience, because with my 1 year work experience, my points would move to about 515. So yeah, and I was hoping to get PNP. I was living in Ontario, and I am still living in Ontario, and I know that Ontario doesn't really have a good PNP program. They have like international students pathway, which they do draws like once a year. They have their master's category, which I didn't qualify for because I did a college program. And my other option was to move to another province that would do PNP, that I can get a job and get PNP. But when I got my job here, I just was hustling that let me get my 1 year work experience so I can qualify for CEC. So eventually I got invited to apply through the Canadian Experience class.
And there was a time they stopped that thing, no?
Yeah, they stopped Canadian Experience class for a while as well, until they started again.
Wow, thank you so much. So, well, in all of this, what was your biggest challenge, regrets? What would you have done better? And what's like your general advice for people that actually looking to come here to come and do a 1 year program, thinking maybe it's just 1 year, they will figure everything out? Like, how do you compare? So just start from your biggest regrets.
Honestly, I don't think I have a lot of regrets when it comes to my journey in Canada, because God has just been faithful to me. And I would say maybe my biggest challenge would be listening to too many voices. In any immigration journey, and whatever country, either the US, UK, or any country you find yourself, the biggest thing is follow your instincts, do research yourself. People can give you information, people can share their journeys with you, but everybody's journey is not the same as your own. So there are people that come to Canada and they get their first jobs in one week. There are some people that even get their jobs before they arrive. There are some people that it takes them 1 year to get their first job.
I was getting full-time roles. I was getting full-time roles.
You see? So I think I would say my biggest challenge was that, as well as coming during COVID, not knowing what to expect. So just those kind of things, but I won't say they were really challenges. I would say they were just like stumbling block that led me to
part of the process.
Part of the process, yeah.
So what do you advise people that are coming for a 1 year program who as compared to before? Because express entry draws now, they're over the roof.
Yeah.
Even PNP now, you've seen 600 and something. Even trades 400 and something.
Yeah.
Like, so you have to come
prepared,
come correct.
Yeah.
So as compared to 2020 and now, like, what do you advise people who are coming to come and do a 1 year program?
If you can avoid it, avoid it. I would say it's a lot of mental challenge.
Yeah.
I was actually out of job. Like, I got, and I shared this on my YouTube channel as well when I was sharing my permanent resident story. I got my invitation to apply for permanent residency the day my status expired in Canada. Yeah, so it was just a miracle. It was just God that came through for me. So if you can avoid it, because in Canada, immediately you're out of status, you are not able to work, you are not able to do anything. Like, you cannot do anything, you cannot even go to, you don't even have health insurance, you don't have anything again. There are people that maybe will stay. My plan was to, because they won't chase you away. You can apply for something called
status to remain.
Yeah, status to remain. And I applied for that also before my status expired, because I knew that my status was going to expire. So I applied for that, but I eventually didn't need it. So yeah, I just gather as much information as you can. If you feel like honestly, if you can do a 2-year program, go for a 2-year program. And if you cannot afford it, there are so many scholarships. People just don't know.
No.
There are so many schools internal scholarship. There are so many schools that will give you like 80% scholarship. I know people in this country that paid like 5,000 for their entire master's tuition fee. I know people that did not even pay anything at all. So research, like, the problem that I have with people is that people are too lazy to do research for themselves.
True.
So research, if you feel like you don't have enough information, reach out to someone that has that information. Reach out to someone that knows what they're saying, not just anybody. Don't follow crowds, because what works for person B may not work for person A. So just gather as much information as you can, and just trust the process.
Thank you so much, Dami. This is actually my first collaboration. I'm actually very honored.
Yeah.
I mean, this YouTube channel must grow by
you guys should subscribe.
We will do everything that we can. I know you're probably watching that. This one is not serious. She will not come back in next 2 months. Don't worry. I'm back. Okay, I'm back gradually. I'm back.
We are back.
But it must blow by fire by force.
Amen.
Your life must be impacted in the name of Jesus. Thank you so much. I'm so happy that you're here. Guys, if you have any questions, please leave it in the comment section down below.
And we can come back to do a second video if you have good questions.
If you have good questions, we'll come back. I always have access to our time. Privileges. Yeah, another thing that Canada actually does is it gives you connections, good connections. Like, I've met really good people, great people that I don't think if I was in Nigeria,
you would have met
them.
Yeah.
So that's one of the benefits of actually coming here, apart from the whole Jackpa bandwagon. So I think it's something, if you're thinking about it, just give it a shot. And it's not really that bad. The best time to actually come to Canada was last year. The next best time is now.
Yeah.
So don't wait, because the exchange rate said it's not even smiling.
My sister.
When you came to Canada, how much was cash to naira?
When I paid my tuition, my first tuition from Nigeria, CAD was, I don't think it was 300. It was not 300. It became 300 when I landed in Canada.
Now,
it's 1,226
as at the time of shooting this video.
So just imagine, it's like times
if
5.
You wait till next year, it's your luck.
Yeah. So some people wish they came 2020. Some people wish they came yesterday. Some people wish they came today, and tomorrow some people wish they came yesterday. So it's
just, if you're actually thinking about it, it's
just
worth
do it. Yeah.
Just do it. It's worth it. All right. See you guys in my next video.
Thanks so much for watching.
Bye.
Bye.